Sound, yeah. No, not a lot's really been happening, to be honest. Kind of feel as though this week's the first week I've been back on track and finally actually getting some solid routine back in place. Obviously, after not being well and the whole sort of appetite scenario and what have you. So,
Mm,
yeah.
not ideal. Like again, we all go through that little appetite problem every now and again, especially when the flu kicks in. Like as I said to you, I was very, very similar. Someone who doesn't get sick that often, but literally, fingers crossed, now we're both on the mend. Did you do anything different this time since coming back around? Did you just get yourself back into training, or did you deload, devolume, or what was your approach?
In the past, I'd always been that person that was like, you know what, I'm just going to train all the way through the illness. Like we've all been there,
Yeah, yeah.
and it never really has any benefit. You feel as though it does, but you're just kind of working yourself harder into the ground. So just had, I think it worked out to just over like 2 weeks off training completely, which don't get me wrong, it's quite nice at the same time after being on prep for the best part of last year.
Hmm.
Um, and then I just sort of gradually sort of like dropped myself back in. Like I didn't go from like no training at all straight back in full volume, full send. Is I had to sort of like drop back into it, almost as if like you're starting afresh, having to reset your numbers and that sort of thing, and just having to sort of like relearn machines and that sort of thing. So, and then once I got about a week in, it was then like right, okay, I'm now in a position to just go for it basically. Um, just gradually getting meals in during the day, getting back on top of hydration and that sort of thing, and focusing on the things that count, I guess you could say, really, or to some, the things that don't necessarily account apart from the drugs and the training. But
Exactly, exactly. And it's some part that's kind of like overshot. What people would look at is especially with flu sickness. And something as well as what a lot of people when they go into the gym when they are sick, say if they have 5 sessions in a week and they come back, they feel like they need to do 5 sessions in 5 days, then they need to kind of counteract their missed days, which again, look, it's with experience and the longer you're doing this, the more you understand it's not the way to do it. Like you're not going to be going in doing a push pull legs upper lower or whatever type of split you're on. You're not going to be looking to like amalgamate all that work into 4 or 5 days when you've already had time off. Like we have to kind of understand the rest and recover the body needs. But look, fingers crossed, everyone is going to get over this illness. Like a lot of clients I have back in Ireland as well will have it, and here in the UK and around the world, and I'm sure like with clients you have too, you're seeing it as well. But yeah, let's kind of delve in. So I only got to know you, Ross, now in the last, is it 6 or 8 weeks? Would we say that really? How long are you in? Have you been training in that gym now then? How long have you been coming into next level?
so originally I was at the Northwest Mecca in Speak in Liverpool.
Okay.
And since sort of like hearing or sort of catching wind about next level, it kind of like piqued my interest a little bit. And I kind of needed that environment to kind of get away and just concentrate on just training without having sort of like the interactions, the conversations. I don't want to be rude to anybody that might be watching this. I'm not miserable. It's not that I don't welcome the conversation. I kind of got into it because I needed somewhere, as I say, to go and train and to get my head into it. And every session I've had at next level has been like a good session. I could probably count on one hand the amount of sessions that haven't gone particularly my way. Again, going back to sort of like illness related. And since like training up there, I thought, this is a place for me. Like as you all know yourself, Mike, like the kit in there is second to none. Obviously, with the drops I've had over the last couple of months and more to come as well. Um, it really stood out to me with like how serious they sort of take that sort of like environment and how that gym's been structured. Um, and it just goes to show with the likes of yourself, like even meeting guys like yourself in there, they've obviously got years of training experience. It makes it such a better place to be in because I can speak to different people, learn different things. Um, so which
No.
is it's what it's about for me. Because at the end of the day, like I'm still young, still relatively young in the, I guess you could say like the bodybuilding game as such.
Yeah.
Um, and literally anybody I can learn off. You know, that's why I was sort of drawn to that particular environment. But I think it must be since about the middle of October I've been there now. So
Of October. Yeah, that would have been pretty much the end of my prep. So like for me now in that gym, like I joined before it even opened when Tom announced it online, he gave there was 50 spots for like pre-membership, like original membership at like a discounted price. And I could just tell like because like when you're in and out, like when you're in the gym environment with a long time, you can kind of tell when you know a place is it means business.
Yeah.
Like when I seen him putting up the little bits of kit, seeing the layout, like the preview videos, I kind of knew, and I looked up the distance. First thing I did was say, how far is it from my house? Okay, it's 13-minute drive. Perfect. And then when I seen it and he put up the price, I said, look, I'm just going to join it, like get signed up there, get up for the year. Knew straight away. And then even when I got in there, I didn't go up the open day weekend because in my head I was like, I'm the type now when there's open days and stuff like that, I tend to avoid it.
Yeah.
Just for the fact that not to be antisocial, because look, when you know bodybuilding, this is something what some people might not get with bodybuilding. And what you'll see is like, I would have seen you in the gym with a while, and I would have looked at you and been like, okay, he takes his training seriously. But like, I'm not the type that's gonna interrupt my session to introduce myself to someone. It's gonna happen naturally if it's meant to happen.
Yeah.
That's what we kind of always see when you're big into bodybuilding. When you get to kind of meet these new like friends, make acquaintances within bodybuilding, it happens organically. We're not going to look at each other and go, like, we do the initial, like the first thing when you walk past, eventually you kind of look at you, you'll do the nod, and then you'll get to the stage where like the little bit of conversation comes. But that's when I went into next level was I didn't go the open weekend because I said in my head it'd be too busy, it'd be packed. I won't actually be able to get to look at the kit. I'm going to wait till the Monday and go in at my usual time, 10 or 11, and it's probably going to be dead, which it was because he's only after opening. Got to look it around, see the kit. And then obviously I got to see the environment from day one kind of grow to see the clientele that in my head when I was chatting to Tom, he was kind of telling me what the goal was. And I remember kind of laughing. I was like, it's going to be a bodybuilding gym, Tom. It's going to be 100% bodybuilding. I said that area you have with the kind of high rocks kind of idea, that'll be gone eventually. And I still stick by that. I can guarantee you 12 months time, you're going to see that area slowly get smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
But that's the thing with the environment. Like there's great, like I think it's what it needs up here because I'm originally, as I was like you know, I'm from Ireland. I lived Ireland. I moved to Spain. I used to train in M13 in Dorian Yates's gym. Trained there for 2 years. Moved to Manchester. I used to train in Frontline. So obviously that's got very, very good kit. I could day pass down to EP Jungle when I wanted. Flex and Tone was there if I wanted an old school environment. And then when I moved out of Manchester, just kind of got sick of living in the city. I moved up towards Chorley. There's no gyms kind of in this environment that I knew of that was like to the standard I was used to. So obviously the opening at next level, and that's like if anyone's listening who's in around that kind of Preston area or in within half an hour of it, well worth going for a day pass, well worth trying out this gym. Like just for if you're into body, like into like you don't even have to be into bodybuilding, but if you're looking to like level up your training, go to next level, even from that, the likes of the PTs in there, like you PTing people and a few of the other lads, like there's a high standard in there which is only going to improve. And something it's going to bring on to next then is with yourself then. What are you looking at in the next kind of like 6 to 12 months? Where is this journey going to take you with bodybuilding now that you're finished shows, your kind of health seems to be good now after the flu?
Mm.
Where are you going to push now? Give me a timeline between now and say June, July 1st.
I mean, it seems to be at the moment that I've got, say, like a timeline, but it's always like moving around. Being in next level, the amount of, say, different athletes in there, you've got anywhere from, say, you've got your bikini athletes in there, tone figure on the female sense, men's physique, classic, open guys in there. And a lot that I speak to are like, oh, I'm going to be competing this year. Literally everybody I've spoken to are like, oh, you're going to
Mm.
be competing sort of like midway, sort of like tail end of the year. And then there's me sitting here getting itchy feet, like fear of missing out sort of thing. Like, if I really made the right decision. But, you know, the way that I've sort of planned my year out is there's numerous things I wanted to sort of do over the course of the year. Getting a bit sort of deep into it as well. Like when I had this sort of thought in my mind of putting this year on the back burner in terms of like competing. Um, since I've been with my fiance, like we've been away on holiday twice in the 5 years we've been together, and that's literally only in the country.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
literally every year since I've been competing, doing sort of like 2 or 3 shows a year. And you know, you'll know yourself as anybody will be that you know will be sort of like listening in, is that it is massively time consuming. It's selfish. It makes traveling difficult. And I thought, you know, I just want to spend this year. Don't get me wrong, still eating, still training, still growing, still doing the non-negotiables that we'll all do. They're not the sort of things I can literally drop in an instant and go back to living sort of like a normal way of life. Um, it's sort of focus a bit more on life for this year and have a bit of a breather. Obviously, the goal this year is obviously still to get the most amount of growth out of what I can. And then I've kind of got it set in my head that I'd like to potentially compete the early part of next year. So rather than sort of like aiming for like the tail end of the year where you've got sort of like all your so the end of the season regionals, your finals, and that sort of thing, is to go earlier in the year and sort of maybe look at a few other like different federations. Because like in the back of my mind, and it seems a bit extreme, is I've always looked at the amateur Arnold Classic, like here
Yeah.
in the UK. That's one that I'd love to just tick off my sort of like bucket list. Um, Not with the sight of sort of going pro or anything like that with the IFBB, because I'm not necessarily massively interested in hunting down that pro card. Just something literally to say that I've stepped on the Arnold stage at a big exhibition, and that will kind of take me out of my comfort zone even more. Um, so yeah, that's kind of really like where this year's at. I mean, so far as life, myself and my fiance want to move. We're sort of looking at moving closer to sort of like Preston, Chorley area, so we're closer to the gym. So obviously, I live in Liverpool at the moment.
I'll give you the where around the area I am. I'm Chorley, kind of Buckshaw area. Lovely. Like I'll just give that bit of like so quiet, really, really nice area. Like again, like I'm not like we were kind of looking between that. It was kind of like up to Preston was as far as I was kind of willing to go. Because
Mm,
obviously I have like a lot of mates back in Manchester. At the time I was going to travel a bit to Frontline because I had membership for like another 4 or 5 months.
yeah,
But I would recommend this area. Like even if you like, obviously you probably know the areas. Like even just drive around, take a walk around,
yeah,
and like everything you said there about life, like advice I can give here then as well is the fact that like I've done shows like that. I've taken time away from bodybuilding, like what you're doing right now, where you're trying to do a bit more life. I did that in 2024. So I did that pretty much like the year before I competed last year. But in 2024, like I went on 6, 7 holidays. As in, I just ticked off every 2 or 3 months. I kind of like they weren't even big, like one or two little big holidays, but they were small little trips. Like might have been going to like right, gonna go to Amsterdam, right? We'll go back to Ireland, right? We'll go to Spain, we'll go to wherever. Just small little trips here and there, then one or two little bigger ones. And something like what you would have said, and if people are listening, like what happens within bodybuilding, it's very hard to lose the habits that we've created over them years. Like I experiment because I wasn't sure if I was going to compete again. So like when you said you wanted to take off shows, like I've done the Amateur Olympia in Spain. That was a show I wanted to take off. I did that in 2022. Did shows through the UK, shows through Ireland. There's one or two I'd still want to take off, like you said, the Arnold, like the Arnold now this year is on is on in literally what's it on about 10, 12 weeks time. It's on in March, like the
yeah.
28th, 30th. So the Arnold will be on then. I more than likely will go and watch that. Just travel up and see it because I've been to the last times it's been here. I was there in 2021, 2022. I was at it, had clients competing in both of them. And again, it's good to tick off them shows. And as well, like even if you're saying you don't want to chase IFBB status, it's nice to see where you stand in a very, very competitive lineup. Something that you can look at within bodybuilding and like at shows are like if you do some regionals, some shows, sometimes you go to a show and there might only be 3, 4 people in a lineup. You're not really getting a true reflection. Like nothing against like people kind of like in that like, there's only 3 or 4, but like at times maybe one or two might not come in condition. Maybe it could be their first show. And again, you're not getting that reflection. Whereas when I did the Amateur Olympia in 2022 in Spain, I did Class D in Classic, so the tallest class, 32 competitors
No way.
because there's 3 pro cards going. So like I wasn't at pro caliber or anything. My thing was I'd like to see where I stand. And I was in a second call out in that. So like that for me now, that was a goal. Like, yeah, I would have liked the top 5. I would have liked the medal. I would have liked to be able to do my routine. But it kind of put me and showed the standard of what is out there, have like these top guys. Because I did the regional in the UK 2 weeks before, and I won the regional in two bros, and like I didn't care, like because in my head I was like, this means nothing. There was 4 lads in the class, and I kind of won the regional. I didn't win the overall when the other lads won the overall, and then when I did, I was going to Spain, and I was like, this is going to be the test now that regional just kind of ticked the box for me. So that's something you do experience within bodybuilding, and especially doing shows. If you were doing regionals, it's not to like get too hyped up on that result, especially if you're going to set yourself a pro qualifier. But like if you're there and then you win a regional, and if that was your goal, like that's amazing. Like for me, then back then the goal was to see where I stand in that high lineup. This year when I came back to competing, as I said to you, like I took time off, did normal life. I tried, and this is just like I don't fully recommend this as well, but like for people that are like in their journey and want to get straight back in, I went 4 to 5 months without using a food scales. So I did something like if you look at Ian Valier, so anyone who might follow bodybuilding in a little bit more detail, Ian Valier is a Canadian bodybuilder. He's placed like top, was it seventh was his highest in the Olympia? Seventh,
Yeah,
I
something
think
like that.
seventh was his highest. So very locked in bodybuilder. So he took time off to do a fertility protocol, came off all gear, and literally removed like he basic diet. He did like 2 to 3 meals a day. He did no food scales for a while. He did all of this. And like I was doing it around a similar time. And like it's kind of a thing is you get so accustomed to like weighing your food. And even when you're putting in like I was still eating like my usual meals. But sometimes what I would do is I'd put out the chicken and then I'd say I'd weigh it after and see how close it would have been to my 200. And you're very, very close when you eyeball meals when you do it this long. You actually get very, very close. So I did that for 3 or 4 months where I had a food plan. I knew what I was eating, but I was kind of intuitively eating to it. Where I didn't get any like negative process. I did a long TRT cycle too. I did about 18 months, I think, or something, or 14 to 18 months just at that because I wasn't sure about going back into bodybuilding. But then when we do this, and this is like even for when you get back into bodybuilding, like not like that, not I don't mean get back in, but when you get back to competing, if you're taking this kind of time off
Yeah,
the switch flips very, very quickly. Because for me now, like literally, when I just got that itch to compete, because what happened was, is me and my fiance, we went to the Philippines. I got to see that kind of lifestyle over there, just to like basically made me very like gracious of what I'm doing, of like the lifestyle I have, of what I've created for myself and being able to bodybuild. And then when I got back here, I was like, right, I'm going to get back into training good. I'm going to get back into that. And then we went on a holiday to Antalya. And when I kind of did a little bit of a diet for that. And while I was dieting, I got that buzz. And you know, when you get that kind of thing where you're kind of itching, like you're enjoying the first 4 or 5 weeks of dieting, I just flicked that switch where I said, right, I'm going to do a show. Looked up shows, picked out my shows, and literally it went so smooth because I was in the right mindset. Like I wasn't competing just for the sake of it. I wasn't competing because I whatever. This literally was like the love and everything was fully, fully invested in what I was doing. And it reflected in the look for me for a stage where I went like if anyone like here listening doesn't really know me, where my journey would have been is last time I competed in Class D Classic, where my weight cap is 105 kg. I competed at like 93, 94 kg in 2002. Literally made me kind of realize, right, there's levels to this game. Then I did a bit of an off season. Then I said, right, I don't know, will I compete again? I got very busy with my work. Was flying to shows around Europe, Ireland, UK as well, Italy, Spain. I had a client win IFBB Pro cards. I had overall wins. So I got too invested in the kind of coaching, whereas I didn't want that to, I wanted that to be my number one priority. But then I got that balance now. And when I went back and competed here, my goal was to be if I could bring a shredded package and just make a small improvement. I said in my head, if I was like 94 there, if I was like 96 to 97, I'd be happy. I was just below 102 kilo on stage. I was 101.8. I started my prep at 114. So I lost like literally 12, 13 kilo and maintained a lot of tissue because I was fully invested. Like I wasn't doing it just for the sake of it. This was me with full excitement and enjoyment. So it was a great, great time to get back into it. And that's something that I think you'll see as well is when you enjoy these few months, don't, this is the advice for people out there too, is like when you're enjoying it, don't try and get yourself sucked back in. Like enjoy this time off. If you like, I'm not saying miss meals or anything like that, but get your meals in. Like if you miss the food scales for a meal, like it's not the end of the world. Like as you said, like looking at, as I spoke there earlier about Ian Valier, he's gone back into bodybuilding now. He's probably going to do a show at the tail end of this year. I was listening to a podcast with him earlier, and like he's packed on size again very quickly. He's fallen back into his habits, and like that's just what I spoke about. When we're invested in this so long, it's very easy to get back into your habits.
yeah,
So I'm looking forward to seeing that now for you now to see how you go get on enjoying life, and then obviously the turn back in.
yeah.
So it's going
And
to
I
be exciting.
think I think like at the moment, like as you say, like I'm kind of glad I've hit that reality now because I thought I don't want to get to the point of say like having 2 or 3 shows planned this year and then almost make sort of like say the life situation even worse because I'm missing out yet even more. And then that
Hmm.
pushes that number to sort of like from 5 years to 6 years and to 7 years. Next thing you know, like 10 years could pass. And you're like, well, we've not actually really done anything together because I've been selfish. They've been like, you know what, life goes on hold. I'm focusing on competing. Like,
Mm.
so I've got age on my side as well. I was 32 in December. So
Yeah,
I've still got a long time of competing left. Like,
you do. And like what you said there, and that's what I'm saying to you, is you enjoy this, you will come back. Your mind will be so refreshed.
mm,
And that's something that I've seen with my progress now. And like even in like how I'm training through there is like when I took that bit of time off, like not saying that like I reduced my training volume. I went down to like a 4 day split. So I reduced my training. And literally, like when I did my sessions, I didn't logbook for about like for the full 18 months, 19 months, I didn't logbook because I know kind of an idea of my strength profiling anyway. So I kind of just worked off that. But then when I said when I lock back in, like when you see me in the gym, you'll see me with all my stuff. You'll see I have my book, I have everything. You can see the way I'm locked in. You can see like when I'm in my like you can see the tunnel vision I have. Like I'm in to get the job done, train. I'll see you. I'll have a quick chat with you. We'll get back to it. We're not there for 20, 25 minutes, like interrupting our session.
no,
We'll have the quick few words. We'll get on with our sets. We'll get on with our training. And then when we're finished, like even like when I finish, if you're working in there, if you're behind the desk in there, I might wave at you, say, how you getting on, Ross? And then I'll go on and do my session. When I'm finished, then I'll have that kind of 10 minutes where you can see
yeah,
we're getting the job done. And like that's what something now is like you'll be able to get a lot out of like if you're enjoying life and if you tick off some of them goals, if you and your fiance, if you tick off some of them goals, some travel, like plan something in there, do something like amazing. Like if you think about this is the way I always say to people as well who ask me about the time I took off and about the trips I went on. If you were competing this year, how much would you spend on shows? How much would you spend on supplements? How much would you spend on that? You can invest that into life experiences that you can look back on because like that's what gave me such a drive when I did my shows is I look back saying I was in this country, that country, we went here, we did this, and like I was able to use that as like as in not missing out, and then I was able to come back and enjoy it. And like you said, you've time on your side as well. It's not like you need to like hang up the trunks in the next 2 or 3 years, that kind of way. Like you can take that time, let the body get fresher as well. Like you don't have to over push anything. So it's gonna be very, very exciting. And what is the plan then as well? Like, so then you do the trips, you get back like now into the gym now. You've basically you've quit your full-time job and now you've gone full-time coaching. Something I
yes,
can kind of comment on as well is because I worked full-time. I'm fully qualified engineer. I'm a mechanical manufacturing engineer. I worked in Johnson and Johnson. I worked in all them companies. And I left my job to pursue online coaching, which again, some people back then thought was mad. This is back in 2018, 2019. People thought it was crazy. I handed my notice in. I was working as a senior engineer on a project in Johnson and Johnson. I just handed in my notice because online coaching was taking over. And it's when you look back, it's like it was a risk, yeah. But the way we look at it is I had a degree to fall back on. So if it didn't work out, but like when I was chatting to you and you told me you quit the job, like what you were was a scaffolding you were
yes, yeah. So
yeah,
I've been a scaffolder for nearly 3 years, and don't get me wrong, I absolutely love the job. It made me
yeah,
kind of like conquer my fear of heights, which is probably the worst fear to have when you're a scaffolder. Given some of the stupid scales of jobs that I worked on. But I got to a point, like funnily enough, when I was on prep and I was really able to like push my business and I was getting the most amount of like attraction in terms of like client uptake. And every morning I'd be in the wagon on the way to a job, I'd be messaging clients back, I'd be tweaking programs and stuff, all whilst I was working, like on any spare time I had, even on like the breaks we had. If we got like stood down for bad weather, I'd be messaging clients and sorting plans out and liaising with new leads and talking to people. And in the end, like I did take a massive gamble. And even then, like I remember the message I sent my mum when I was like, "Oh, I've gone self-employed." She was like, what are you doing? You sure that's right?" I was like, "Yeah." I said, "It feels right." But what I did is like where I had my last show of the season, I ran out of holiday entitlement with like the scaffolding firm I was working for. So I
yeah.
really abused like the holiday that I had.
Mm.
Got the show over and done with over the weekend. Got home on the Monday. My fiance went back to work and I was at home on my own because I ended up taking the day off sick. And I sat at home so anxious about going back to work because I'd had about 10 days, maybe 12 days off because of covering like peak week and show days and whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, something's got to change here. I just had that itch and I just didn't know how to kind of answer it. Um, and I'd always wanted to kind of take the jump anyway. And I had to sort of weigh things up as you do. You'd have found the same, Mike. Like when you
Oh
like
yeah.
decided to take that jump, it's like, is it worth the risk? Like you either jump and you try and make yourself float or swim, or you don't take the risk and you kind of live with that. I should have done it. I should have done it a month ago, or 2 months ago, 3 months ago.
Hey, you
You know?
could say I should have done that 20 years ago.
Yeah,
That's what hit you. Because as in we would have chatted like the podcast I kind of do with my two Irish mates now, Dara and Mark, we all had that conversation about what we were doing. And the same thing there where like if you didn't take this risk now, I'd rather fail doing this in the first 3 months than not have done it and just sat comfortably and then say like imagine like being in my 50s then and just kind of realizing I could have made something that I could have tried this. You know, like if you hit that like your proper like midlife crisis, like oh, I should have done it. But then we all had that conversation because like when I did mine, I handed my notice in, I think it was a September or October 2019. What hits 3 or 4 months later? COVID. So like I was literally gave up my full-time job and straight into COVID. And I remember sitting there and like well, that's typical timing now. That's typical now. I hand something in and then this happens. But that was it, the sink or swim. So that gave me that I had to make this work. And literally, yes, luckily I did. I made it work. And then that's the thing is like it might not take off. Like when it takes off, when it does take off, then it's so satisfying the job we do no matter what the goal. Because, yeah, look, I've done weight loss clients, off season, IFBB pro cards, like as we said, like that, like they're all amazing goals. But like in our role in our job, when we help someone, like I'd say they're like one of the best satisfying things you can get is changing, and I mean like a normal like in every a 9 to 5 person's life. Someone with kids, someone with family. Like if you have a client that can text you and say, my kids are picking up on the habits you've taught me, or like that, like a client with extreme weight loss. Like I had a client at 160 kilo that ended up doing a photo shoot. Let me try and see the timeline what it was. It was in Ireland. I can't remember the exact timeline, but started at 160 or 158 kilo. We did a photo shoot at 91 kilo. Like it was like 2 years or like something later. I can't remember the exact timeline.
yeah,
But for him getting to that was absolutely incredible. And like then like he ended up getting like that loose skin surgery. Like he did all of this then after as well. But like that gave him the drive where that completely changed his life. Whereas like at 160 kilo, like you're knocking on death's door, like you're bringing it closer without even realizing it.
you're a
And
walking
then
health risk.
that's what it is. And like people might look at like people like bodybuilding there and like look at like might look at me or whatever as well and be like, yeah, like he's doing X, Y, and Z. He's using anabolics. Like he's like literally giving himself an early grave. But I do my blood work every like 3 months, keep on top of my CV health. My blood pressure is very, very strong. Resting heart rate's in a very, very good place. Like I make sure and track all my metrics, and I can say probably hand on heart is at times I'm probably healthier than majority of people out there. Yet I'm the one who's abusing X, Y, and Z.
Yeah,
I'm the one using a bit of testosterone, growth hormone, and all that. But I'm not out at the weekend doing recreational drugs. I haven't had a drink. Last time I had a drink was, I think, probably 10, 11 months ago. And like, I was never a big into drinking anyway, and since I took into bodybuilding. If I had a drink now, it might just be a glass or two of whatever, or maybe just a beer.
yeah.
Like, but I don't do that. So like, I have my kind of lifestyle in check for what I'm doing. And that's something when we take this kind of, this plunge, like, and like, say if we look at you now, where you have like, do you drink? Do you have anything like that now?
Not at all. No, since I've sort of moved into like more of like a healthy lifestyle, the only times I ever drink is probably Christmas.
Mm.
Christmas Day, I'll maybe have, I don't know, maybe a glass of wine or two. I mean, please don't abuse the accent. It's not because I'm posh and I drink wine. Like, there's no reason like that.
Yeah, yeah.
But
But
because as you know, it doesn't fit with the lifestyle. Like, you know,
no, no, and like it's not that like I have nothing against anyone at once. Like I have clients now, like lifestyle clients that will want to have a drink at the weekend that ask me how do I fit in. Like I had a client messaging me this morning saying that they got a new job now due in 2 weeks and their friends want to go out for a drink on Saturday night and a meal. What am I meant to do? How am I going to manage this? And I'm not looking at them saying you can't drink. I'm looking at saying, right, here's your plan of attack. This is how we're going to approach this. And like this is something that probably people like if you're listening to this, even if you're not into bodybuilding, you need to understand in situations like this when you have events at the weekend, what's the best advice you can give someone? Enjoy yourself.
100%.
That's the
Make
advice.
memories.
That's the advice you have to give someone. And like, yeah, don't go out and do the fucking dog in it. Like that's the other way to do it. But like if you want to have your two or three drinks, you want to have your meal, if you can tell yourself and not stress and go, I'm going to enjoy myself, you'll actually be 10 times better and you'll actually get back on track the next day. The biggest problem that like from doing this with years, what I see with people is that they stress so much about the event and about having a drink or two and having like what finger food, having a few chicken wings or whatever, that it causes such anxiety in them that literally the next day is a write-off. The next day is ruined. The next day is going to go out for brunch. I'm going to get myself a takeaway that I already ruined my Saturday night. Whereas if you can build that kind of idea of enjoy the moment, like what you're going to enjoy it with friends and family, they're going to celebrate their new job, and then they can get back on track. Like, would you see something like that now, like say with clients now as well, if they
Yeah,
have events coming up, that fear, anxiety of actually enjoying themselves is going to ruin their progress?
definitely. I mean, like I do, like obviously different to what you do. I'm more sort of like lifestyle than like competitive clients. So I sort of face a lot of, say, like busy professionals, those that have kids and families and whatever. And the one analogy I always use, and I'm the same as you, like I could, yeah, I could go in and say, look, on Saturday, I want you to do this, 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 and this, and make it really like confusing and even more stressful because then they're thinking, like, what am I actually supposed to do? I can't really sort of read between the lines. Whereas normally I just say, look, it's all about self control. You can go out, enjoy your meal, enjoy a few drinks, and see it almost as if a car with four tires. I said, you go out for the meal, a few drinks, you're literally going to stab and deflate one car tire. Then that means on the Sunday, you think, like as you say, you go into that stressful mindset of, oh, I've overdone it, blah, blah, blah. Why are you then going to go around on the Sunday and stab the other three car tires? When that one meal, that one off plan, say those few drinks, is something that's easily reversed and rectified, like it's not the end of the world.
Hmm.
And it's like, who am I also to say to my clients, look, no, you can't go out for a meal. You must take your box of chicken and rice with you, whatever your meal is at that particular time. You've got to take that with you. Be sat at the end of the table, miserable as sin, whilst everyone's enjoying burgers, pizzas, whatever of food. I was like, I'm not, no, I'd rather you go and make the memories, enjoy it, celebrate it, so long as you can actually move past it.
Exactly. And like I deal with both sides, as in, yeah, I have some clients where I tell them they can't enjoy it. They will be the say competitive, say they'll be the clients that have the big goals like that. Whereas if like you know yourself, if like us, you're 4 weeks out from a show, it's a different kettle of fish. And like something I like there is when you gave the analogy there of the car tires. What I give to some clients now, and this would be more, say, on the kind of higher level competitive clients, is when I'm doing a peak week with clients and we're explaining to them kind of like glycogen storage and filling. Sometimes I'd even say to them very simply, like, you fill your car with petrol, like it's full to the brim. So that's your body, you're full. So your glycogen storages are full. So like this is even telling them there. So like the thing is when your body is full with glycogen, you want to do as little output as possible. So like you know when you tell people like before a show, like yeah, feet up, rest, eat your meals, and maybe just do a small little bit of steps. So what I'm trying to explain to them is when they're in that position that you're full, you don't want like you're not going to drive around your driveway 50 times before you go on your journey, wasting fuel. So that's what you have to think of glycogen when you're getting ready for a show and you're on show day. And it's the same when people are pumping up backstage. Do you ever see like some people that start their pump up like an hour before they're due on stage?
Yeah,
What's that doing? Like that's the kind of way I'm trying to explain to them that is you're not going to drive around your house 50 times and then say, right, I'm going to go and I'm going to I'm going to go wherever I need to go there. I'm going to go Liverpool to Preston. You're not going to do that. So people like you need to make these little analogies that like people will can resonate with and they can actually understand why you're doing it. And like we'd see them things. Let's have a little kind of bodybuilding chat here now. What are some of the mad backstage things you might have seen people do when you were at your shows there now? Or is there anything you see and you kind of look at and you're kind of like, why are you doing that? Or anything like that? Just so,
but
say
honestly,
if there's normal people listening so they can kind of see the mad world that we're in.
I mean, over the years, like I've seen so many people do all kinds of mad things, like people eating full bags of Haribo and nailing a huge bag of crisps like last minute, expecting that to work instantly to kind of get them that pump, or like they're scrambling because like you know what it's like. Obviously, you've got more sort of years in the game in terms of competing, but if you're if you're backstage, you're stressed out, that sort of thing, you're trying to pump up before you go out. The worst thing you can do is get stressed because then you stood there trying to pump up. You're like, I'm not getting a pump, so you're trying harder. But it's like you've got that psychological of actually, well, you are getting a pump, you just can't really see it or feel it that much. You're
And
just
you're
kind
not
of
going to
overthinking it too much.
you're not going to see it or feel it because you're looking around at 10 other lads that are pumping up and
Yeah,
your prep goggles are on where they look 10 times better than you. So
yeah,
that's when you're starting to overdo. And then when you get stressed, your body temperature starts to increase and you start to sweat.
yeah,
So like there's a lot of little things that like what you see backstage and like what you would have handed on there is like smashing food, like literally like you're literally pumped up ready to go and then it's like right, give me that full jar of honey and like get a full thing of honey going in there with their crisps with all of that.
yeah,
And like you'll see some mad kind of things. And the same thing there is like one of my kind of things I try and like kind of get into a client's head that is a competitive client. Like we would have all made mistakes. Like I can even talk about mistakes I would have made when I did my first shows. But something I'm pretty much strict on with clients is no treats backstage. No, like literally, I don't want to see cookies backstage. I don't want to see you have this because I've done it with clients. Like I've had clients on stage since 2020, so this will go into year 6 now of clients on stage. And like at the start, yeah, like I because it was kind of a thing, I'd had no problem with it because I would have done it as well. But like sometimes what you see is within bodybuilding, people kind of associate the journey of show day with your post-show cookie, with your post-show treats. And I like the reason like that, like I'm against that now as well as people having me on backstage is the fact that you're already creating after like you've dieted for so long. The first thing you're reaching for is cookies, is
mm,
junk food. And you've dieted and you've been disciplined for so long. And like for a lot of people, and especially like bikini, like I've done a lot of bikini athletes. I've done well over 100 bikini athletes now at this stage. And if you look at them and if they're like 50 kilo, 52 kilo bikini athlete, they're smashing cookie dealers or what, like 600 to 800 calories a cookie. They can smash two or three of them straight backstage the first thing they go, and then they're going out for their meal, then they're going out for that, and then they're up so much weight. Like my whole thing there is like what I want people to do is just literally do the show. I want them to try and have an on-plan meal first, as in like that, chicken and rice, whatever you want, like that, bowl of cream of rice, 2 liters of water, electrolytes, just literally use the first 2 or 3 hours post show just to kind of like decompress because you're in such a high after it. Like your adrenaline's through the roof, you're all of that. You want your heart rate, you want everything kind of reduced down. And then it's nice to go out for a meal. Then, like if you have a meal planned or whatever you do. Because like every show I did this year, like my post show straight away, like after was 1.5 liters of water, electrolytes, glutamine is what I put in with mine, and then I had a cream of rice with dark chocolate, almond butter, and raspberries, blueberries. And literally that's what I had after every show. And then if I had a meal, like my show could have been done because if I did the PCA shows or the MPC shows, Classic is normally on in the morning, so I'm finished at 12 o'clock.
yeah.
So I don't want to be smashing pizza and burgers or whatever at 12 o'clock. So
No.
it's something that I'm kind of big into doing there now. And let me see, when you did your first shows, what were you like post show? So you did your first ever bodybuilding show.
I can
What
see this coming.
is Ross lying on the floor, hugging the toilet, vomiting, or what is Ross doing? Because I know that's a very common thing to do.
Honestly, it was the very first show I did. So that was 2019, which is mind blowing to say it's nearly 7 years ago now.
Hmm.
I thought it was going to be like my first and only show. So I thought I'm going to do the show, enjoy it, whatever. And then after that, it was literally the moment I walked off stage, I didn't have any. This is how poor, and I hope he doesn't watch it because he's going to give me a lot of abuse, like my coach back then. Like it was terrible. There was no advice in terms of like restoring electrolyte balance or just, your digestion is obviously a lot more sensitive as well when you come off stage because of, eating so clean throughout peak week and that sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
There was no guidance there. So I literally came off stage and it was like, right, you can enjoy some off plan food, whatever, I'll catch up with you sort of like the following day. That night, I literally full sent it to the point where I couldn't breathe. And then he ended up leaving me hanging. And I guess like this is how mad it was. It was that age old scenario where there wasn't any like rebound after the show. He left me
Hmm.
high and dry for, I shit you not, a week. So I had no diet, no expenditure targets to hit, no training, nothing like that. I was literally left high and dry. So again, I just thought, okay, it's another 7 days to abuse. And
Mm.
that was some 18 kilos later
Fuck.
in that week. And I felt terrible.
Oh, geez, I say your ankles were a sight.
Yeah, I couldn't even walk. It was awful. I
That's
think I put the pictures side by side, and you had relatively good condition on stage to then a week later didn't even look like I trained.
yeah, looked like you were like peak off season probably like you were in that
Pretty much.
stage
Yeah.
like that's the problem and that's like when we do shows back then because like I remember like my like first show as well when I did it and like after the show like yeah I can't remember did I have anything backstage. I don't think I did. I think it was more when we got back to the car, but after that like when I did my show it was a 2 hour or 2.5 hour drive back home, so I literally did the drive and then it was like into a restaurant, two burgers, fries, milkshake, dessert. After that, walked around, got like ice cream in another place, went back to the apartment, got a Domino's order, got two pizzas, garlic bread, the chicken strippers, everything. Got all that, and then it was at that stage. I think there was a tub of Ben and Jerry's in the freezer that probably was eaten as well. And it was in that stage where it was that lying on the floor, bloated as fuck, felt like my stomach was going to explode. And it was like lucky, like for me, like when I had that, it kind of like made me understand. Like I couldn't stop. Like that's the problem when if people out here sometimes here and you hear people doing bodybuilding and like that, like and they hear like at post show someone says they can't stop eating. Like it does happen. It's just like that. It's like once your taste buds get that flavor, that sensation, because something I like to tell people, and especially when they're on prep and it's their first prep, I always tell people is you do not realize how nice food tastes until you're literally like show like ready. When you are legit peeled, your taste buds, everything is so sensitive. Like you didn't like if you go and get like a burger out now, say if you went to a burger, you went to a burger joint now and had a burger, it's fine. But if you have that literally after a show, it's like a Michelin star restaurant. It's the way everything kind of hits. And that's what kind of things like you just want to crave and you just chase that flavor of whatever you know you're going to have. It's going to be absolutely sensational. And that's like something that people aren't ready for as well. Like you don't, same thing that's why people get very strange at the end of their preps, like when they're having their like their veg like their asparagus with whatever they're going to put onto it, and then it's the nicest tasting thing. It's like it's just how our taste buds get sensitized
Yeah.
to what we're doing, and that's what does make post bodybuilding kind of quite difficult for a lot of people. And again, the post show window, and like you said, if you were high and dry for a week, like I'm just like everything is so advanced now. Like when I have a client on stage. I pretty much have their reverse, like I have their pretty much their reverse plan done. Like as they're like the night before the show, when they're like gone to bed or whatever, like they send me their final pictures. I'm like, right, you're checking in at 6 a.m. in the morning, whatever. So off to bed, go to bed, whatever. I'm writing their plan, or I pretty much would have discussed with them and their general idea. So when they do their show, and then when I'm saying, right, this is what you do tonight, then I can send it over to them. So they have already their kind of plan, like they said, their setup. And that's what I know everyone does now these days. But
Yeah.
like back then, 2019, 2018, etc., it wasn't like if you got it, it would have been a good thing. Whereas back then it was kind of like take 2 or 3 days, just relax, enjoy yourself. But it's very, very difficult, like when you're so regimented to a routine, when
Yeah.
it's taken away from you for a week, when you just feel like a lost puppy, like you don't know what to do.
Oh, definitely. I mean, it does get easier. Like, this is one thing that a lot of people don't realize when you do your first show. Like, the one thing that happens, whether if you go and you have that binge, you go through that stage of feeling like utter death because you've eaten everything in sight. Like, I never even, if you said to me back then, this is the way that you do it now, as in like how we would essentially do it post show, I'd be like, oh no, you crazy. I can't be asked for that. I just want to enjoy some food because, as you say, everything tastes heavenly. You could go to that dodgy kebab shop around the corner and eat something that would give you food poisoning and that would taste amazing. Like, you're right in what you said.
Mhm.
But then as you go through season by season, show by show, it soon changes your mindset in terms of like, right, when I step off stage, can I really stick to just say one meal that I can go out and enjoy, whatever that is, and then after that, be able to literally just switch it off. Because even like this season, I went in with the mentality of what you just said. Like, I had in my head what I was going to do when I came off stage, like in terms of getting water in, restoring electrolytes, making sure you're hydrated, because you could do some serious damage if you came off stage and you had a bit of a say not necessarily like blood pressure issues, but you could put yourself in hospital because you're going from having sort of like a relatively normal, stable blood pressure going through peak week. As soon as
Mm.
you step out, you're smashing all that food, your blood pressure skyrockets, and then you end up in hospital as a result. Which I've seen a few times with sort of friends and that have competed, which they'll never do again.
Mm.
And
And
I
like,
actually had like as soon as I come off stage, this is what I'm going to do. So it's liter to a liter and a half of water straight away. Let that settle down. Get a bit of a walk in. Get some fresh air because obviously you're so like high, like emotion and whatever. And then I'd have a meal in my bag as well, which that I would be eating. Which for me it was generally just like rice, mince, and that's pretty much it. Just something nice and simple that I can get in me. It's not going to bloat me out.
mm,
And then I would sort of like do the same again a couple of hours later. I then add sort of like a bowl of like cream of rice, whatever. I might have just added a few extras, like some dates and honey and stuff on it. And then once I feel all right, I would then have, say, like an off plan. And then that was it. Like you're talking, say, like even just sort of like a medium pizza or just a burger, not even any fries or milkshake or anything like that.
mm.
Just then I've got that element of enjoyment. And then after that, it would then be like gradually getting back on track. I would still have sort of like a few things here and there, but not thinking I've got to go downstairs and clear the cupboard out. Once I've done that, I've then got to go to the shop and get more stuff in. I'll go and just eat and then order a Domino's. Like that mindset now is gone because that's not going to set you up for a successful reverse, in my opinion.
No, and that's the thing is you need to do multiple shows really because like you have to take like my biggest thing is when I see a client like even come to me and like say if they're competitive or if I know people doing it, it's their first show and when they start talking about how they're going to smash their reverse, I'm kind of sitting there as like, hang on now. You're talking about something you've never experienced before. Like
Yeah,
you do not realize how tough this is going to be. And like sometimes situations can throw themselves up. Like if I take an example of say my prep this year, like I got sick on show day this year. My last show, like the night before the show, like I did a show in Ireland and then I flew back to the UK and I was like 6 days out or 5 days out. So I think I did a show on Sunday and I was competing the Saturday then as well. So I did the show Sunday, flew back to the UK Monday, getting straight back into peak week ready to do the show. And pretty much I remember it was in Stafford now, and I remember being in the Airbnb. And the thing is, two of my mates, like two of my like one of my best mates and his missus flew over to watch the show because they were coming over like to hang out with us then as well. And I remember then like it was me and him in the like he went with me to the tan and we just chilled out. And when I got back to the apartment, I remember I was feeling a little bit off like in my stomach. And like I just thought maybe probably just the amount of carbohydrates, probably haven't moved enough. I'll drink more water, I'll just do all that. I was after taking some Anadrol as well. So like I loaded in on Anadrol in for all my shows, something I've never done before, but this year I just said I wanted just to experience just to see because like I will experiment with stuff like that. Obviously this isn't beneficial if you're weighing 60, 70 kilos on stage. Anadrol is not the answer. Like I was 100 plus kilo on stage. So for someone like me, you can get away, you can potentially use it. So I was doing a 25 meg Anadrol. So I did 25 earlier and did another 25 before bed. So and then when I woke up the next day, like I looked great, like I looked good, but my stomach felt off. I remember getting my first meal, and then after that, like I was in the bathroom after a meal. I was like in my head, I was like, okay, look, this will be grand. It'll settle itself. I was backstage then, and when I started pumping up, in my head, I was like, I need to go to the bathroom again. Like in that kind of aspect, and I ended up going out on stage, and I couldn't control my stomach, as in I was bloated. I literally, when I tried to hit a vacuum or anything, as I kind of sucked in, it just came straight back out. And like, there's videos of me, like, as in the lads have it, like, I'm kind of there and like, like that kind of heavily breathing on stage. And I remember doing it, and like in my head, like, I was like, this is the show now where I want to get like top two, three. And I was in my head, I was like, yeah, I have the potential to do it.
mm,
Ended up placing sixth out of like 13, I think it was. And that was my lowest placing like I've done. Like, yeah, amateur Olympia, I was second call out. I was like eighth or ninth, but like that was a completely high standard. So this was the lowest placing I had. And I was so pissed off. And as in nothing against the lads that placed against me, like again, like incredible lads. I just know as well on the day I wasn't at my best, which again, like annoyed me. But like I didn't go on social media, I didn't rant about it, I didn't start saying, oh, X, Y, and Z. What I did was like, and you might like resonate with this because when we're deep in prep, when you're deep in prep and something doesn't go right for you, or again, like when you're just like so depleted. Like if there's people in the room, like my mates were there and my missus was there, I didn't want to speak to any of them. I wanted them in the room. I wanted them around, but I did not want to speak to them
Yeah.
because my mates, like they had their own car, so they were driving back to ours. I was driving back with my missus, and I remember when we got into the car after the show, I kind of looked at her and said, "We have an hour 15 drive. Do not speak to me for the hour 15." And literally, I needed that like hour just to kind of compose myself, just to kind of be annoyed. And like in bodybuilding, some people might understand. Like I know it's like me sounding a bit selfish at times, but I needed that hour because like you know the work that goes into a prep. And when it didn't go the way I wanted in the end, like I was annoyed. So I drove back literally like hand on the steering wheel like this, music blaring, and just got back to the house. The second I parked up the car, I was normal, perfect. Looked over at my missus, chatted away to her. We went off then, like my stomach was still at me. I was in and out of the bathroom. We went out for food with my friends. I tried to eat out, I couldn't, because again, how I was feeling, but I was perfect to be around then. Like, and some people don't understand that, like with bodybuilding. Like same thing there as we went to one of my buddies' show to Joe Gant now as well. He was doing a classic show in the British finals the following week. So I went and watched that there, and like he had a goal of like wanting to turn pro in classic. Again, he won his class. He didn't win the overall, like he didn't win his pro card. I remember back when he came out and we were just chatting to him. He had the same kind of look I had, whereas he was happy we were there, but he didn't want to speak to us. And
Yeah.
the same thing
Wanted
there.
to leave it alone.
Yeah, like I gave him a hug and all that, and then he just literally kind of looks at it and goes, "Right, lads, I'm going home. Thanks for coming," and walks off and just goes home. And then he messaged me like it was literally that hour later when he got home. He sent me a message and he was like same thing there. Is like I just needed that time just to compress it. I was annoyed, pissed off, and I was like, "Bro, fully understand it because like we know when we do it, and
Mm.
like it's a thing that people don't understand is like when you are in bodybuilding like that, like you get so invested into it that like you might need that little bit of time that like sometimes the energy to engage in conversation or stuff like that, it is quite difficult.
It is, yeah. I mean, I had a similar thing. I mean, it shows how sort of wide this happens. Like
Mm.
the first show I did last year was in September, and it didn't. I'm not going to put my foot in it, so I'm just going to sort of skirt around the situation a little bit. But it's very similar. I didn't necessarily get the kind of outcome that I thought I was going to. Came in absolutely peeled, posed at probably my best for what category I was in men's physique, and then I came off stage, and it was a bit frustrating because I had my coach there, he had his camera guy there as well. My fiance was there, and then I had like 3 or 4 friends that had travelled up from like where I used to live in Hertfordshire up to Manchester to see me, which is probably some like 3.5, 4 hour drive. And because I didn't get that outcome, I came off stage, gave my fiance my bags, and I walked past every single one of them, and I went outside, and I just stood outside on my own for a second, like away from everybody else. And I had to just stand there for like 10, 15 minutes.
Mm.
But then I felt awful in that moment where I thought, I can't necessarily be in that situation where I'm going to avoid the conversation. So I kind
Exactly.
of sucked it up a bit. I walked back in, played the niceties, thanked people for coming, whatever. Sat in the car. Emma said to me like, "Are you all right?" And I was like, "Just give me half an hour." And then I did the same. Turn the radio up and sort of listen to the radio. We're then sort of driving to get some food anyway, to sort of like drown my sorrows a bit. And whilst we were sat having food, I was just sat there chatting normal. And she was like, "Are you all right now?" And I said, "Yeah, I just needed a moment just to kind of process exactly what happened because I threw everything at that show, literally killed myself to get like healed."
Yeah.
And then I was
And
like, she said one thing to me, and she said, well, it's sort of a matter of things, is you weren't to know who was there on the day. You didn't know what the outcome was going to be. You could never write the situation. She said, should you have placed higher? Yes. But she said, look, sweep it under the carpet and move on. And in that point, I was ready to pull the plug on prep completely. I was like, you know what? Fuck this. Can't be asked. Like my season's done. Just going to essentially full send the off season and just try and sort of step up a bit further. But then after another bit of a head wobble through sort of like my coach, a few friends, they were like, you're an idiot to bin your season off because of this. And then
exactly.
in that moment, I was right in that sort of real dark mindset of no, I just want to pull the plug because I've gone all the way through my prep. I've documented it all the way through, shooting YouTube videos, making content and sharing it with friends and family. And then I was like, I'll just fucking let everybody down because I completely bombed it. But then that's where I then took the decision of like when I then stepped up from physique to classic, I went completely the opposite way. I didn't post any check-in pictures on Instagram, didn't post any progress, didn't even document it. And then it was literally like on that show day where I made my debut, it was like, boom, there you go, stepped on the classic stage. And that to me was what kind of highlighted my season. And
Hmm.
then like I look back from that moment, and then it went sort of like, I guess you could say full circle was once I'd then completed that show, got back to the car, my missus took my bag and stuff off me, and I walked to like where we were parked in this multi-story. I went and stood over by the railings, and mate, I was just in floods of tears because
Hmm.
I'd actually like seen that through, and I was
Exactly.
like, that's the moment that I needed. That's that little glimmer of light I needed to kind of see that through and actually push it.
Hmm.
Um, and I had people sort of like, this is God's honest truth as well, because I posted a little bit of it on my Instagram, like a short reel of me sort of like being emotional. And I thought I want to show the authenticity, not for a cry for attention or look at me like comment. And
And not for a Brandon Harding.
yeah, and I had people messaging me saying,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
what are you crying for? What are you getting upset about? And blah, 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 blah. And I was like, go back and read the fucking caption on the reel and you'll see what it's all about.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I was like, this is the sort of emotion you feel when you're like, yeah, those couple of months ago were a bit shit, but now I've stepped forwards, I've stuck with it. Again, I've killed myself a second time to get on stage. And this is what it means.
That's it when you don't miss, when you did that, like them emotions kick in. Like I'd find that as like the like when I stepped on stage and I have them emotions, it's because as well as I know I didn't miss a beat. Like I remember doing my show in Ireland and I remember trying to do a bit of a like a vlog, like using the DJI camera backstage and literally just about before called out. And I remember trying to speak to it and you can nearly welling up a little bit just before you out because you know you put everything into it. You know you didn't miss a beat, you know you're ready to bring your best. Like, because like if you're cheating on your diet, if you're half-arsing your training, like you're not going to get any emotional effect like that at all because like you know you didn't like give your heart and soul to it. And like I've seen it with clients for me now, like as well, like clients I put on stage, like when they're doing their last cardio session, they could send me like a video of them like finishing off their steps on the treadmill or their bike, and they're like nearly tears coming down saying like I've smashed these last 18, 20 weeks and you know they're the ones that do it. But then as well, like you can see the opposite side. The flip side is like when some people, like when you know people aren't doing the work. Like I've had that as well. Like as in over the years, like you can call clients out. Like you can know when someone's not doing the work, and it's a tough thing to do is to call someone out at times when you know they're not like hitting all their metrics, when they're not doing this, like because when we're in this game long enough, you kind of you know what a timeline, you know what's achievable from a physique. Like I can look at a physique now and I could be like, right, that needs 18 weeks, this one needs 22 weeks, this one I could have this person ready in 12 weeks. Like you can know that from the time in the game, and if the body isn't responding, like it's one part I find that is difficult in this game is like we can give like in our jobs here, we can give our heart and soul to someone. We can give them like people don't see with the online coaching the hours that can go in the evening in that. And it's the same thing there is when you don't get placements that you want, especially if you're coaching people within bodybuilding. And like if let's look at some of the most subjective categories, bikini, men's physique. You're coaching people in them class, like you there, you did a men's physique show, like you in your head, like you were telling me you should have placed higher, which and again, wherever you place, like again, and that's the thing is bikini and men's physique can be so subjective to what someone likes that someone could give their heart and soul to a prep. They expect like a first or second, or maybe it's like you could look at the lineup. Like I remember looking at lineups, sending clients to shows, and especially bikini shows. There could be like 12 girls in a lineup, and I kind of looking on right. I can see top three here and then they're in like sixth or seventh, and like it just doesn't make sense.
Like,
And in your head, like then when they come off stage, you have to try and explain to them, like as in like you did nothing wrong. Do you know that kind of way? And you're
yeah,
like, as in you look at the physique, and the same thing there is like I brought you in as best you can, but emotionally, then a client could see that as this is not the result I wanted. And then the thing is, they can jump ship, they can do whatever, they can move forward. But like that's the thing is people don't see the hours that we'll put in through that, and like big bodybuilding is a lot very that's the problem some people don't understand it can be so subjective to the results, but like again I'll be honest, and if a client comes up to me and goes to me and goes I should have won that show, and if like if you know they shouldn't, be like come on now, like be a bit realistic, like look at who won the show. Like it is kind of that it is that hard level there where we have to be a bit like honest with it, because like if I look at our shows, like the show I told you when I was sick, when I came sixth, I wouldn't have won that show by looking now at it. Like, would I came first? No, I don't think I would have came first in it. Would I have got into the top three? I'm sure if I could have posed and if I could have held myself, because my feedback from that show was literally like posing. Like, you have to display your physique. Like, I didn't even even my posing routine in PCA, I only did like half of it, and I tried to come off the stage early because I literally was heaving with a pain. And
Mm.
I, in my head, there, I was like, yeah, I know I could have placed higher, but I remember going on my Instagram stories after it, and I was walking to Tesco, and like I wasn't walking to Tesco to get ice cream and Ben and Jerry's and whatever. I went and I got smoked salmon, sourdough bread, eggs, and avocado. That's what I got because I wanted to see would that food, because I've had that all in my prep to see how that would sit with me. But again, like I went on my story and was like literally like not the result I wanted. I was ill, nothing I can do about it. I need to evaluate what I was doing because my plan was to do the British finals then the following week. But I couldn't do the British finals then because I wasn't feeling okay until like the Thursday or Friday, and the show was on a Sunday morning, and I wasn't wasting money like getting an Airbnb, registering, and then like not being 100%. So like that called my season early. And like the same thing there is like if you have a bad mindset or a bad discipline, I could have used that to like you've seen how I've been post show because you've been in the gym since then. Like you've seen my weight climb from my show day weight to where I am now. You can see the condition. You can see the way like I'm not missing a beat. Like when I talk about what I'm doing, it's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Because you can see the same thing. We can see a lot of people that will talk the big game and don't come through with it. Like again, like I'm just trying to do as best as I can based off where I end up now in the next like 6 or 8 months in when I do go into prep again.
Yeah.
Like I'm in that mindset of do I want to be open bodybuilding? Do I want to be in classic? I'm under my weight cap in classic, but again, I have a structure that would suit open bodybuilding. But the problem there is when we look at open bodybuilding, like I'm 6'1". The problem is in a super heavy bodybuilding, if someone's 5'8" or 5'9" and they're 105 plus kilo, they're gonna wipe the floor with me.
Yeah, to get
That's
smoked.
the one thing. Yeah, and that's the one thing I look at when I stick in classic at times is because like I'm in class D, so I'm in the 6 foot plus. So at least everyone I'm competing against is pretty much the same height. So I have that kind of the aspect. Yeah, I might not have the best structure against some of them, but I will have the mass. I will have the size. But we'll see. Like that's where my goal is kind of seeing where I have just to see where I kind of end up in the next kind of like 4 months now with this off season to see where I am then.
Yeah, I was gonna say, for anyone that doesn't know, this guy's 112 kilos. Am I right?
115 this morning, so we moved back to where we wanted to be. So the goal is to be around 120. So I want to be in around 120. I've been 120 before. Like I've been my heaviest I ever been. But this is like if we talk about off seasons not done fully right, and this is where you learn. I've been 125 kg, I think 125.2. And that was before I did my prep in like 2022. And like again, this was like pushing weight silly. I was living in Spain. I was just eating stupid amount of calories. This is where I kind of learned as well. Like, do you know where I probably didn't have enough discipline where I should have, where when my appetite started to go, my answer at times was an off-plan meal or something. Right, I have 3,000 calories left to get because my food was like 6, 8. 3,000 calories left to get. It's 6 o'clock in the evening. I'm not going to be able to get that in. I'll get X, Y, and Z. Did it work? Got food in, but it did nothing for my digestion, did nothing for my look. And it just kind of ruined, like, even when I started prep, because, like, you even chatted with a few of the lads about it. When I started prep and I did my initial food drop, like, I went 6'8" down to like 4'7" and literally, like, dropped 15, 16 pounds in like 7, 8 days. But again, it's inflammation, it's fluid, it's stomach volume. Like, it's so much to come off through there. So, like that's what this game is. Like there's so much learning in it, and we learn a lot about ourselves.
I've noticed a lot, like over the years, like how much it's actually changed. Because there's a lot of coaches now. I don't know if it's something that you do yourself. No doubt it probably is where coaches are kind of pushing their clients through the off season, but trying to keep them leaner as they go through. Because then, like that, then sets you up for a bit more of a successful prep. Because we've all been through the stage. Like my heaviest, I got to about 94 kilos, and that was honestly, I felt awful. I was a walking heart attack risk, complete water buffalo. Probably estrogen was through the roof. Like I was probably bordering on being female at that point. Um, and I still remember the moment vividly, kind of going off on a tangent, is going into London a couple of years after I met my missus. We were spending a long weekend there.
Yeah.
And the station we needed to get to our hotel just so happened to be the station that has the longest escalator in London. And believe it or not, the escalators were out of order. And there was me like, well, shit, yeah, my cardio ability is nigh on non existent. And I had to walk from the bottom right to the top and carry a suitcase. And I got to the top and I was on my hands and knees, literally thought I was going to have a heart attack because I was that big. Somebody being 5'6" and 94 kilos isn't exactly like fun being that size.
No, not at all.
Um,
But like what you just said is exactly what people don't realize is like if you let your body weight get out of control, it's what happens. And like we've all like I think we all nearly have to go through it. You have to kind of go through that and you learn so much from it. Whereas like that's where I am now, and the same with clients at times. And the problem is like I think a lot of people they just want to see the scales move, especially in an off season, and the patience isn't really there. Because like again, sometimes you see with clients you're kind of holding them, you're like, I'm trying to get them like right, this much rate of gain. Like if you tell a guy like you want like 0.3 to 0.5, like say if they're like kg a week. So you want to see max like 2 kilo a month of a gain. A lot of them are kind of like, oh fuck that, I could do 5 kilo a month. And but you don't realize like 20 kilos in 4 months versus 8, 9 kilos, like you're gonna get a lot more return with the lower. And again, like that's what people need to look at. And like that's what I was saying the podcast I was listening to earlier with Ian Valier. He's talking about his off season now where he admits to pushing food too aggressively previously and putting on too much weight and literally pulling off too much on preps where he's doing it, keeping himself leaner now, and just utilizing food jumps when needed. Like with my food now, I've done one food change since I finished prep like 12 weeks ago. Did the initial post prep and then I did another little one. Like my food hasn't changed there now, and I've gone like 101 or whatever 102 up to like that 115.
yeah.
So you don't need it. You don't need these escalations every week. Some people they feel like they need it because they feel like they're getting their service then when they get a food update. Whereas the service is if your body weight's going up, your health metrics are in a good position, your training performance is increasing, your sleep is good, that's your win. Like that's what people don't understand, I think sometimes.
I think it's one thing that's even shocked me this time around, even for myself, is being, I think when I weighed myself the other morning, I was 190, which I think works out to about 86, 87 kilos for those that work in kilograms. Like this is the way like where I'm sat right now is the leanest I've ever been at this body weight. And that's even blown my mind. Like I look back at like say 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks post show thinking, yeah, I'm starting to get fat, I'm losing the shape, whatever. I look back and I'm like, I probably could have gone into a mini prep of like 2 weeks and been stage lean again.
Hmm.
And even
Yeah,
then, like from now, I could probably full send I don't know, an 8 week diet and then I'd be stage lean again.
yeah. And like you're
It's mad.
within that striking distance.
Yeah.
By doing
Whereas,
that,
whereas for you, it'd be like a 2 week prep and you're ready to go.
you know what? I came close to nearly considering that after my sickness went when I finished prep because I finished my prep would have ended then the 12th, 13th of October.
Yeah.
And I had a show booked. Like my last show I was meant to do was an open bodybuilding show in Ireland on the 9th of November
Mm.
because like one of my best mates was doing classic and classic tall and I coach him. So I was like, I won't do classic. And I always wanted an excuse to do open bodybuilding then. So I was like, here's my perfect opportunity. And then when I was pretty much recovered going on around like the end of October into the first week of November. And like my body weight was only like it was still in around that 103 like mark. Like so I was around say I would have been like 227, 228 and I compete around 224. So I was like I'm 4 or 5 pounds off where I was on stage. I goes, I could just like get myself like I could do this if I wanted. Like I like literally could just start loading in, but then I just went, nah, I just won't bother because I like it was just is that kind of in my head. I was like, just in case like anything with the sickness came back and I was already on TRT, I was doing all this. I didn't want to mess around with anything. But like that's the advantages, as we said, of keeping lean. And again, that's the one kind of thing that you would want to take away from people doing their off seasons. Don't chase the scales, chase the look. Like look at your
Absolutely.
pictures, see where you can visually improve.
I mean,
And
even
again,
then, it's very easy to kind of underestimate it. And don't get me wrong, like trying to sit sort of like in this similar sort of points that we are, and there's obviously a lot of athletes out there as well. Is that it's by us saying like staying lean, it is by no means easy. Like because obviously you know full well that you're not like in that stage condition, but you want to hold that sort of element or that you want to hold that sort of lean moment through the off season as best you possibly can without getting sloppy, without thinking, okay, I'm going to press that big red button and just literally just pile the weight on because you still got
yeah,
to get your expenditure in terms of steps and cardio and even the food. The food's got to be on point as well. Training's got to be on point. Everything else has all got to be ticked off. So it's almost like being on prep away from prep.
Mm.
because if you slip and fuck up, then that's the difference between staying lean and then gradually going like getting fat because you're adding extra sauce on your food, or you're sort of like caving into cravings between meals, even though when you're at peak off season and the last thing you want to think about is food.
I
Like it
know.
can happen just for the sake of getting meals in.
Yeah, and like as it is, stepping on the scales in the morning, and you'll see that rise, and then that's where the justification comes from it. Like at times, whereas like the way you look at it, and like the simple thing is like, would you rather be in prep? Would you rather A, pull off 25 kilos, so like 50 pounds in prep, 50, 60 pounds, or would you rather having to pull off 30 pounds in prep?
This is it.
Like, you know what the thing is what you won't realize. If you pull off, like, say, if you only have to pull off 30 pounds, you're probably going to look better than pulling 60 pounds. Because when you pull 60 pounds, there's muscle coming off at a higher rate than what people would realize. And fatigue is going to be through the roof. Inflammation is going to be in through the roof. Cardio is probably going to be through the roof because like they're all things that as in I don't know if I even said it to you, but when I did my prep this year, I did zero cardio. And I'm not trying to justify it to anyone saying I'm great, I did zero cardio. Like I set myself up that like I only had to drop like I dropped 25 pounds for my whole prep. That's all I dropped. Like from start to end was 25 pounds. So I was in that striking distance, whereas in my head I was like, normally if I do cardio, my legs get eaten up. So my quads, my hamstrings, they just get eaten because when I have to escalate that up, so I said I'll hit my 10 to 12K steps. I'm gonna train like a motherfucker, is how I said it. So my training was was the number one metric. Like I put training at the start over sleep. That literally my training had to be number one. That obviously as I got deeper into prep, sleep was my number one priority, that and training. And by putting that emphasis within my training is what allowed me to get lean a lot quicker, I found, because previously I would have been doing like cardio, high steps as well. And when it comes to training, then I'd be a bit fatigued going into training and it would take away from my session. And then I wouldn't didn't realize it before. Whereas that's what I allowed this year, that like number one was training. And like again, that's what you'll see with the physique. It showed for me, and that's what I'm going to try and do now into this next prep I do is the same. I'm going to eliminate cardio out, and hopefully, look, if it's needed, I'll do it. I'm not someone that's trying to skip it, but if required, I will do it.
Mhm. That's one thing that a lot of people generally like underestimate. Obviously, I'm sure if you, well, I guess like as you say, if you had a lot of weight to lose, you've got, as you say, 30, 40, 50, 60 pounds to lose, even more. Then by the end of prep, your physique's just going to look tired.
Hmm.
And then you'd have to go through a phase of stripping a certain amount of weight off and then maintaining that for a couple of weeks. So it's always going to be that sort of like drop down, rather than that nice sort of steady prep all the way through. I mean, if you said to me like, you know, we can get you on stage in say 12 weeks time at the point you're at, I'd be like, sound absolutely fine. Whereas if you're saying, oh, you've got a 24, maybe 26 week prep, I'd be thinking, no, I can't be asked for that, right?
Yeah, and like that's what it is. And like say when I did my shows, I did a show 2 weeks earlier than my initial first show because I was ready because I like 'cause my body came in a lot quicker than I expected because of like the position I was in, which gave me that kind of buffer by literally like I remember waking up on a Wednesday and there was a show on the Sunday and I was like on Wednesday I was like "No, I could do this. I could do the show on in Birmingham on Sunday." So I literally just registered, did all of that, and I said, you know what? Right time to do it because I'll get the stage experience. I can do this because my body responded. But no, like this, as we were saying, everything we've discussed here now to like in this like has been absolutely like great. Like and
Mm.
the one I want people as well to take away, like when like every time I have a chat with Ross now, and this is we're giving experiences. We've done things right, we've done things wrong. And again, that's what where we learn. And like a lot of my learnings come from doing things wrong, from making mistakes. And again, like that's even where I am with the gym now, with how I train. Like I've made a lot of mistakes with my training, a lot of mistakes with how I execute stuff. Whereas now, that's my goal now is just to make sure like everything is locked in, and like any kind of podcast I'm on or any discussions I have, that's just the information I just want to kind of get out there. And
Yeah,
again,
definitely. I'm in the same place as you. Is if we can help people not kind of make those mistakes and get the most out of like their lifestyle journey, bodybuilding journey, whatever. Whether if you're up and coming, you're looking at starting, like that's the reason why this is here, really, because I've had so different experiences as to what Mike has. Even though there's things we resonate on a certain level, it may be sort of like different things that are kind of the same, but everyone's different. If we can help, say, 10 people get through a successful prep and not make those mistakes, not feel like shit after they've competed and, end up in hospital. Let us do the stupid shit and you do what, you should be doing.
Yeah, we'll be the test dummies or the guinea pigs, as they say. But like that's what it is. And like we're in the environment in our gym now as well. As you said, a lot of people will compete, and a lot of people are in there. And like I'm in there, as I said to you, like I'll train away, I have my headphones in. But again, if someone asks me a question like that on form, on anything, or if someone has anything, like I'm open and I will always help. Even if someone has a coach or someone's coaching them, and if they ask me a question when it comes to training. I'll give advice, but I'm never going to step on someone's toe by saying you should be doing X, Y, and Z. Like that's the one thing that I always try and kind of like strive on when I'm in the gym. That like, yeah, if you have a question, I'll always help. If you even if you're coached by someone else, like again, if you ask me, am I executing this right or anything like that, I'll always give advice, give whatever I can because as I said, I've made plenty of mistakes and like I just like to see people and like I count myself as a nerd when it comes to training execution and like how things are done, and it's my forte now at the minute is what I enjoy. But like same thing here now with Ross, and it was great to have this kind of initial chat. Probably we'll do it again soon, or you can get me on again soon, and we can kind of run through with this as well because like it is great to have.
Yeah, no, I'd completely agree. Like, it's something I've been meaning to do for a while. I've always wanted to kind of like start a podcast, chat with sort of like-minded people, because obviously doing it on your own isn't particularly fun. Staring and talking to a camera by yourself for an hour probably would drive you insane. But no, we'll try and sort of make it a bit more of a regular thing, include some regular topics. And, as I spoke, like, obviously we're going to have Cam on tonight, but he couldn't be fucked, is the polite way of putting it, I think.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm sure he'll be on again soon. He's just basically go through topics and just try and not get arrested, I think, in other words.
exactly, exactly. Try and keep it PG within reason.
Absolutely. But, mate, no, it's been a pleasure talking to you and I appreciate your time. And
Nice.
I've still got 2 meals to get in, which is fun.
I have another one now. We'll get it in now. But appreciate everyone who listens, and again, we will catch up with you soon.
We certainly will. Nice one.
Nice one.